Alright, so this is your Chapter 4 Mid Chapter Test Study Guide Review. As always, pause the video while you do the questions. Press play when you think you have the answer. Okay, so for this first one, we want to write an equation in slope-intercept form for this graph. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. So we look at the graph. Where the graph crosses over the y-axis, that is your y-intercept. That's where y equals positive 2. So this is going to be plus 2. If it crossed over down here, it would be minus whatever number. Now, for the slope, what we want to do is look along this graph, and we want to look for where the graph crosses over the intersection of two lines perfectly, or in other words, where the graph has exact xy coordinates. For example, here, we know that the coordinate of this point is 0, 2. Here, I know this is where x equals 1, but I don't really know what the y coordinate is. It's a little above 1, below 2, I'm not really sure. Likewise, here, I don't have an exact coordinate. But here, I know that x equals 3 and y equals 0. It goes right at the intersection of those lines. It's very clear. So I'm going to find my slope using these 2 points. Remember, slope is the change in y over the change in x. So to go from this point to this point, from left to right, just like I'm reading a book, my y value, I'm actually going down 2 units. Down is represented with a negative sign, so we have minus 2. As far as my change in x from here to here, I'm going to the right 3 units. So here is my new slope. So I'm going to fill this in. Y equals my new slope, negative 2/3 x plus my intercept 2. And that's the equation of that line in slope-intercept form. Here, we want to do the opposite. I've given you one in slope-intercept form, and I want you to graph it. This is the y-intercept. It's positive 2. So I'm going to make a mark at the positive 2. My slope is negative 3. Remember, I can turn anything into a fraction by putting it over 1. So this means I'm going to go in the y direction, down 3, and then right 1. So from here, down 3 units, 1, 2, 3, and then to the right 1. Place a dot there, connect the dots, extend them a little bit with an arrow on either side, and we're done. Try and do these. Press play when you're ready. Alrighty, now remember that point slope form, y minus y1 equals slope times the difference of x and x1. Now, I can label this if I want to, x1, y1, there's my slope. It's literally just filling in the blanks. Y minus, y1 is negative 3, slope is 3, x minus, and my x1 is 3. Be careful, do not forget the negative signs when you have them. Still not done because I can simplify this. Subtracting a negative, same thing as adding. So this would be y plus 3 equals 3 times x minus 3. And now I am finished. This one right here, it's the same concept except for I did not give you the slope and you need to find it. But we have 2 points, which is all we need to find slope. So remember, slope, change in y over change in x. And you can label either of these as the first or second point. It doesn't really matter. You get the same answer for slope, so don't worry about it. So, let's do this. 8 minus 3, my y's, over 0 minus negative 1, my x's. Notice this is the same point. This is from the same point. 8 minus 3 is going to be 5. 0 minus a negative 1, well, minus a negative is plus, so this would actually be 0 plus 1, which is 1. And 5 over 1 equals 5. So now that I know my slope is 5, I can choose either of these points and fill them in the same formula. So I have y minus, y1 is 3, equals, and my slope is 5, x minus, and my x1 is negative 1. Now, just like above here, minus and negative, we're going to clean that up for our final answer. X plus 1. And there we go. Alright, for this next one, try and write this in standard form. Press play when you're ready. Now remember, standard form is where you have your x's and y's on the left, specifically ax plus by equals c. So basically what we're going to do is use distributive property to simplify this, and then we are going to, or expand this I should say, and then we're going to make sure that our x and y are on the left and numbers on the right. So we've got y plus 7 equals negative 5 times x is negative 5x, and right here signs are different, so we have minus 15. Now we are going to add 5x's to both sides. That way we can bring this 5x over here. Here it cancels. I'm left with negative 15. On the other side of the equation, I want to lead with my x, just like in the alphabet, x then y. This y, since nothing precedes it, I know it's positive, so this is 5x plus y, and I still have my plus 7 here. I want to move the 7 over here. I get rid of it by subtracting 7 on both sides, and I end up with 5x plus y equals, and negative 15 minus 7 is going to be negative 22. Okay, go ahead and try this one. Press play when you're ready. Okay, this one we want in slope-intercept form. That's y equals mx plus b format. So right now it's in point-slope form. Let's go ahead and do distributive property. We have y minus 10 equals 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 6, we have plus 24. I'm going to do the opposite of minus 10. I'm going to add 10 on both sides. This cancels. I end up with y equals 4x plus 34. And there we are, y equals mx plus b format. Okay, try these two. Press play when you think you have the answer. Okay, so for these ones, not only do we want slope-intercept form, but we want it perpendicular to the graph of these equations. So remember, a perpendicular line, or perpendicular graph, the slope is the opposite reciprocal. So, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this. We need this point, and we're going to look at this slope. The original slope is m equals negative 1/4. So the perpendicular slope is going to be opposite. Opposite meaning, since it's negative here, it'll be positive. And reciprocal, so instead of 1/4, it'll be 4 over 1. And 4 over 1 equals 4. So this is our new slope. This is the point we're going to use. So, start out with point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we have y minus y1 is 6 equals our new slope, which is 4, x minus our x1, which is 2. Distributive property, y minus 6 equals 4x minus 8, and we are going to add 6 to both sides. Y equals 4x. Negative 8 plus 6 is going to be negative 2, and that's the equation of a graph perpendicular to this line that passes through this point. The next one here, same thing. The original slope is 2. The perpendicular slope, that's going to be opposite, so it'll be negative and reciprocal. Now, reciprocal for a whole number. Remember, a whole number we can make into a fraction by putting it over 1, so the reciprocal is going to be 1/2. So the new slope, negative 1/2. So this is all I'm going to use for this equation. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus negative 2 equals negative 1/2 times x minus 3. Y minus negative 2, that's the same thing as y plus 2. Here, negative times positive, we have negative, so negative 1/2 x. And negative times negative, signs are the same, so it's plus. And we have 1/2 times 3. If you forgot how to do that, 1/2 times 3, make this 3 into a fraction by putting it over a 1. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2. So this is going to be plus 3/2. Now, what we're going to do is get rid of this plus 2 by subtracting 2 on both sides. This cancels, so work over here. We have y equals, still going to be minus 1/2 x, but the part that some students have trouble with is 3/2 minus 2. I'll do it here. 3/2 minus 2. Remember, I make this 2 into a fraction by putting it over 1. And now, before I add and subtract fractions, remember you have to have a common denominator. Common denominator is going to be 2. There's no change to this fraction, so it's still 3/2. For this fraction right here, to go from 1 to 2, I had to multiply by 2. I do that both in the numerator and denominator. 2 times 2 is 4. So now I have 3 minus 4, which is negative 1. Denominator stays the same. So, minus 1/2. Alright, if you need to see that again, don't be afraid to rewind the video. Check it out. Okay, last 2 questions. Pause the video. Press play when you think you have the answer. Okay, now this one we wanted a equation that was parallel to this and went through this point. Parallel equations, remember, they have the same slope. So, right here, what is the slope? Well, when there's no number that precedes the x, you assume that number is 1. So, if we want it parallel, we want it to have the same exact slope, so m is going to be 1, and here's our point. So, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus 3 equals negative 1 times x minus 2. Y minus 3 equals distributive property, negative x. And right here, signs are the same, so it's plus 2. I want to get rid of this 3, so I'm going to add 3 on both sides. And I get y equals negative x plus 5. Here, same thing. My slope here is negative 5, so you use this point and this slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus 2 equals negative 5 times x minus 0. Y minus 2 equals negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Anything times 0 is 0, so we're good there. Now I'm going to add 2 to both sides. This cancels, and I get y equals negative 5x plus 2. Alright, if you got all that, you should be set for the test. See you in class.